I'm glad you're joining me today. This is a touchy subject that we're going to touch on today, and but I know that it's necessary because many of you are suffering in silence, and so I really wanted to deal with it head on. So I'm Queenie Brown. I am an author, a speaker, a healer, and a transformational coach. But most importantly, I'm your supernatural doula, and I help women heal from the emotional, the spiritual, and energetic wounds that have been preventing conception and successful pregnancies. So when I was 34 years old, I was told that I would never be a natural mom, and my body was shutting down, and none of my doctors could tell me why. And I had to crawl through my own healing, and I had to crawl through my pain to reach my own healing. And it took me almost 2 decades. But by the age of 43, almost 43, I gave birth to my first miracle baby. And before I turned 46, I gave birth to my second. I was pregnant 4 times in my 40s. And I want you to know that you can do this, and I can help. So, have you begun to notice changes in your marriage since you started on this fertility journey? Have you begun to notice changes in yourself? Well, today's topic is really close to my heart because for a few reasons. Throughout my life, I've been personal friends with a lot of women who have struggled with fertility. And there was one that lost her marriage completely, while 2 others are literally suffering through their marriages. I'll explain more about that in a moment. But you see, the journey towards fertility or through infertility is an incredibly painful one, and it can change you at your core if you let it. It takes so much courage and faith to push through and continue to try and try and try after months and months of heartbreak and years of heartbreak, and even in the midst of what feels like an impossibility. But the emotional wounds of inadequacy and brokenness and the scars of jealousy and envy, they can ultimately turn your heart completely cold and totally numb. So I get it. It's our brain's way of protecting us, honestly, and that just makes it even more heartbreaking. But add to that the emotional roller coaster of the hormones that are going on in your body, and the pressure on a marriage can be too much. So, and especially if you have a partner that's unable to support you through it the way you really need it. Well, the truth is it's painful for them too, and they deal with their emotions differently than we do. It's not personal, it's just biology. And I get it, I totally get it. But when you turn cold, unfortunately, they have a propensity to turn to someone else. And that's just the painful truth. And I hate to even have to talk about this today, but I think it's important. We really do need to touch on it. In my past, I've known 3 women specifically who are now living with the reality that their husbands have had babies with women outside of their marriage. And it is devastating. It's the most painful experience that I've ever had to see a woman endure. And it's devastating on so many levels. 2 of the friends of mine actually chose to stay in their marriage. And I've cried with them and heard their stories of suffering and how they had to watch the excitement in their husband's eyes while he plays with his baby that doesn't belong to her. And it's heart-wrenching. It tears you up at your core, and it challenges who you believe you are as a woman. It challenges you in ways that you can't even imagine if you're not going through it. So that pain burns so deeply, and I don't want that for you, and I don't want that for any woman. And it doesn't have to be your story, not at all. It doesn't. So it's important that we each take ownership and responsibility for our own healing and acknowledge the wounds that we're walking around with, because both partners in marriage are struggling and suffering through fertility challenges. It's not just us as women. And whether you're successful in conception and pregnancy or not, it's time to start focusing on your own healing. You have to heal your woundedness now so that you don't cause further harm to yourself or your union, and it's vitally important. I believe that infertility is just a title, it's just a label that they give you, that the medical community has come up with to determine, or not even to determine, but just to communicate the fact that they have no answers to the reason why you are physically not able to get pregnant. But that's good news, because them not having an answer just means that it's not physical. And so sometimes there are energetic wounds, sometimes there are emotional wounds from traumas from way back, or spiritual wounds that just need to be addressed and healed, and they can be. nothing is impossible. The Word of God says that all things are possible with Him. So we know that it's possible. It's just really sometimes a matter of being turned on to some tools or resources or wisdom that can open the door for you to be able to step into your healing. So, and many of our physical symptoms are just a manifestation of those wounds. Sometimes it's just a matter of healing. And when we heal the trauma and learn how to best support ourselves, our bodies are finally able to rest into conception. And that's what our bodies need. I spoke to you in another video about how when we are dealing with trauma and heartbreak over such a long period of time, it tends to impact our ability to rest. Our bodies just cannot find rest. And instead we're in fight or flight. And when your body's in fight or flight, some of the processes don't work the way that they should. Instead, your body's in preservation mode. It's going to just do the things that are going to preserve you to make sure that life is sustained. That's just God's way of building in our ability to survive. So, you know, my suggestion to you is don't suffer any longer. It's time to really focus on healing you. Turn that mirror back onto you and get yourself back on track so that your body can rest and conception can be a possibility for you. And it doesn't have to take a long time. The fortunate thing about healing traumas that are emotional or spiritual or energetic is they heal a whole lot faster than the physical. So there's something that we can maybe make a shift in your belief system or change the way that you've been thinking about things to really make an impact quickly. And then you could be pregnant next year. Especially those of you who are watching me who have an undetermined fertility, or if they told you that you're infertile but they can't even tell you why, that is great news. That's brilliant news. So let me help you. Let me help you. Let's have a heart-to-heart together. I want you to go to supernaturalchildbirth.com/heart connection, and let's get on a call where you and I can talk heart-to-heart, face-to-face, and we can discuss your challenges thus far. We can put a plan and a path to motherhood in place for you so that you can heal your heart, heal your wounds, and go ahead and let your body rest into conception. All right? Make sure you go ahead and book a time on my calendar right now because they are filling up. I have spaces available for next week, and I won't be offering this type of intimate connection for long because of the demand. So I do want to make sure that you make time and space available for me to be able to speak one-on-one with you. The call will be an hour, and you and I will be able to really go deeper. And this is sacred work. I consider this holy work, and it's helping you to facilitate procreation. And that's what God created us to be able to do as women. And it doesn't mean that if you aren't able to conceive that you're not a woman. We'll talk about that on another video very, very soon, because there's so much more to us than that. But I want to be able to restore that power back to you if that's something that you really have in your heart to create. Let's do it together. All right? Again, go to supernaturalchildbirth.com/heart connection and book in a time with me as soon as possible so that we can have a heart-to-heart and talk about how I can help you bring your dreams of motherhood to life. Again, I'm Queenie Brown. I'll see you soon. God bless.